What do you think of the idea of adopting elderly people whose children have died as parents or grandparents, much the same way we adopt children whose parents have died as our own? Volunteer to do anything at a senior center. They'll adopt you first. When I was little, my grandfather would dress up as Santa for all kinds of events. He got a super nice, expensive suit for everything from elementary school events to the town's Christmas parade. But one of the things he enjoyed doing most was going to the nursing home, because everyone there loved seeing him, and it brightened their days. Men would chuckle and shake his hand, women would generally follow him around, and one particularly festive woman in a wheelchair would pinch his ass. The one that stands out most in my mind, though, was a woman that he visited for several Christmases that had dementia, and she'd always say, "You can't fool me, you're a man's name, not my grandfather," and my grandfather asked the nurse who that was. And it was the woman's husband who'd long since passed away. But her reaction to seeing him, and how she'd cry tears of joy each time and recount stories about them, my grandfather would spend most of his visits with her. She ultimately passed away after a few years, but on point, people in senior centers are just that, people. They need love, and in most circumstances I'd wager, they're not getting nearly enough of it. When my sister got married, my grandparents couldn't attend. The wedding was on in another part of the country and the journey would have been too much for them. So when my sister got back from her honeymoon, her husband and my mom traveled down. My sister wore her wedding dress, my mom her ma-TB dress, and her husband wore a suit. They went to their nursing home and they pretended they were getting married that day and had come to see the grandparents before heading to the church. The residents went wild. Not only my grandparents, all the seniors loved seeing them, got pictures with the bride and groom, gave them advice on marriage, made subtle wedding night jokes. My grandparents loved it the most, they were so proud. It was such a small thing to do, but it made a huge impact. Aw, that was so sweet of your family to do that for the folks. Damn, I cried for the first time in a while, but they're happy tears. Please help me to congratulate your sister and brother-in-law. Smile. I received a free Faith in Humanity Restored award to give away. I love that it took me exactly 45 seconds to find someone on Reddit to give it to. Smile. Giving it right back at ya. Sharing is caring. My town actually has an adopt-a-grandparent program at some of the nursing homes. They made up profiles with their interests and what they like to talk about so you could choose a grandparent you'd get along with well. My church did this when I was a kid, and I loved my adopted grandma. She was awesome. She was going to teach me how to play dominoes, but never got to it. We went to visit her one day, and found out she had passed. To this day, I've just not learned to play dominoes. Because she was going to teach me, and I don't want to learn from someone else. I know it's weird. You should learn. It was something she wanted to share with you. Do it in her memory, and then someday, many years from now, maybe you'll get the chance to teach someone else. Ooh, my heart. In some cases it is this. I knew a couple who had a child who was born very unhealthy. The boy didn't live past 5 years. And any time after that they had stillbirths. They adopted a little boy with autism and was about 11, and it's like he adopted them as his parents just as much as they adopted him as their kid. And his grandparents still spoil him, he loves his grandparents back. This reminds me of the programs where kindergartens take the children into aged care facilities and the children pick a buddy, and then write letters, draw pictures and visit their buddy. Reminds me of when I was on the Adopt Award scheme in school. Walking in my first time, one of my mates turns and goes, "Hope I don't get a deaf one again." Greets the first old guy inside who immediately cups his ear and asks, "What?" This is hilarious. There is actually a program that kind of meets this need where I live. People can sign up for a rented grandparent. It allows families that have no living grandparents or no or limited contact with the grandparents to have grandparents in their life. It helps elderly people who want social contact, and it helps families who want their children to experience grandparents. How you interact with the rented grandparents is up to you and your rented grandparent. So if you want to do a lot together, they match you with someone who wants to be very active. If you want someone more laid back, they match you with a laid back person. Edit, they are called rental or borrowed grandparents. You don't actually pay to spend time with them. Should have probably clarified that. Edit, thanks for the award. If you like this, you might like the following information and article. People are starting to combine nursing homes and preschools because the children benefit from the elderly and the elderly benefit from the children. TheAtlantic.com. Millennials have to rent everything. Even grandparents. S. Another subscription service. Pay for subscription and I bet we'll still get ads. I almost couldn't make it today, but after some Tylenol, I was ready to go. It was so nice of Thompson Fielder Elderly Services of Michigan and Lower Canada to bring me here in a Chevrolet Econoline 2500 van. It's not the same, but I had adopted grandparents growing up. Basically, when my mom's father died young, her best friend's father stepped in and volunteered to be her surrogate dad. He was my grandpa, his wife was my granny, his daughter, my mom's best friend, is my aunt, and her kids are my cousins. As far as I'm concerned, they're all family. My sister is a stepmother to 2 boys and my step-nephews refer to my mom and dad as their spare grandpa and grandma. We call ours bonus family instead of spare, but we also have people that stepped in. A similar concept is having orphanages for children with elderly living with them, those who don't have a family or have been put up in some kind of assisted living. The kids grow up with grandparents who tell them stories and teach them how to be better people. The elderly get genuine love and affection. There are some centers like this in India, and overall the benefits are pretty good. The elderly are more healthy and are happier. The young ones are better behaved and do well in school. This is an awesome idea and happy to hear it's being put in action. I have friends whose kids don't really talk to them. I'm not sure why, because they're really lovely, amazing people. One year, I found out the guy's kids wouldn't even take his call on Father's Day, so I told him he's now a part of our family and they're both now extra grandparents. Since my kids' own grandparents were distant, it worked out really well. I love our extra family members. Edit, my friends aren't as dark as y'all think. One may not have been the greatest mom, she had her son at 16 and tried hard, but she was still a kid herself. They still talk. Her husband was in a pretty acrimonious divorce as his ex turned the kids against him. JFC. My mother will never get a visit from me. I've been told for years she's an awesome person and is super nice. My police report from grade 7 says otherwise. Just because they're nice to you, doesn't mean they were nice to their kids. And I know this isn't every old lonely person. Sometimes the kids are just garbage. But not always. Abusers are generally known as extremely nice people to anyone not in their inner circle. Every time a guy murders his whole family, the neighbors and coworkers come out of the woodwork to say what a swell fellow he was. This is unfortunately very accurate. Do you really think someone who is well versed in manipulation will not try to alter themselves? People are ducked up, and sometimes will do anything to make themselves look better than what they are behind the scenes. You mean I can get a mom grandma who will love me and bake me shit, and I can entertain and show them my crazy life? Where can I sign up? I'll bake you stuff, and I'm only in my 30s. I just love sharing baked goods and hearing crazy stories. And they lived happily ever after. I think it's lovely. Majority of my parents' friends are child-free and I've done something similar. I visit a lot of them and send them packages. It's always nice to have more great people in your life. Heard any cool old person stories? My grandma with Alzheimer's once locked herself out of her house during winter and almost froze to death once. He said cool, not cold. No, I mean it was cool because I hated that racist old bitch. Okay, so it was cool and cold. Nice. Yet heartwarming. Like a house fire. I did this as a young girl, 8, my last nana died, and I was upset that I didn't have a Nava. One day while visiting family friend, my mom and dad said I should ask her if she could be my nana. She said yes, even though she had her own grandchildren. We did lots together when I was a child, cooking, art, gardening, act. I think she even taught me a little piano. Then I became a stupid teenager and went through a stupid emo stage and didn't see her as often. She sadly passed away when I was 16. At her funeral I found out she often talked about me to her own children and actually viewed me as a grandchild. She was amazing and I am very grateful for her. She was always super nice and kind. I miss her dearly. Teenagers, please make time for your grandparents. My grandmother passed away during my stupid teenage early 20s aloof phase as well. I regret every day not being there for her, and that's a weight I'll have to bear for the rest of my life. Yup. Had tears in my eyes when I was writing that out. Same with my granddad. He passed a few years ago at 97 but was going downhill around 90, so when I was old enough to know better it was too late. As a kid my family and him would go camping at a beach for 3 months, us off and on him the whole time. White baiting, small fish, and gold mining was a lot of fun as a kid. As a stupid emo teen I just only cared about myself really. Hopefully I can teach my son to be a bit better than me.